tried with NAFTA. It don't matter what they tried with FEMA. It don't matter what they try anywhere in a swamp splushed arena. Everything that they had planned to use against us, the Global 2000 Report World Reduction, the Readiness Exercise 1984, round up the chiefs, right? And the COINTELPRO, stop their leader from rising up to tell them what's going on. Everything that they use became tools for us to navigate around their BS until we can get to a place where we can reclaim what's rightfully ours. As far as the presidents of them countries, I mean, them puppets, flat out puppets. They figureheads. They just been propped up to look like they important to regular people, so the regular people don't know that they mama and they daddy the most important people in their life if they doing what's right. Them people don't mean nothing to me. Like I tell people all the time, I don't care about Trump one way or the other. I just know what his assignment is to make the announcement that the indigenous people then reclaimed America and that is the corporation has been closed. Right? That's all I care about. I don't care about whether Kamala is representing the whore of Babylon or she's gonna fail miserably on purpose. That don't matter to me. But I have to make note of it to the people that's watching so they know what they're looking at. They playing out the prophetic narrative in a theatrical performance called politics. This is all Roman Colosseum design, since we was talking about them earlier, right? All of these corporations are being systematically shut down and the government closed. 90% of the people still don't know the government been closed for 5 years. And they running around talking about electing the president of a dead corporation that's not going to come back to life no matter how many elections they have. And sooner or later, it's going to be revealed that they corporations are no longer and that the tribes have reclaimed their birthrights to the land because it's happening in real time. So that's what I think about Canada, Mexico, and America making the free trade agreement. We got free trade with them anyway. That's still Turtle Island. We don't need no contracts to tell us that we can trade with our cousins up north or our nephews down south. Ain't nobody tell me I can't go over my uncle's house and take some gifts to him in Brazil. It's still Turtle Island.
Indeed, brother. But the premise of me asking the question, sir, is this. With the president, normally when a president is a presidency of a country, it
Mm-hmm.
normally derived from being a citizen from that country.
Yeah.
With that being the case, the president of Mexico, original land, and her family's land is Israel.
Okay. What that does in law, that voids out the original Constitution when a foreigner take office. Now Mexico is forced into the position to negotiate with people like the Zapatista. Right? Now they can go and talk to those people and tell them that Big Mama home and they closing the corporation and we need y'all input for the new government. This is what can happen now. When a foreigner take office under a constitutional government, it immediately suspends the Constitution to protect the nation from a coup, from an outside agency, which anybody that coming out of Israel in politics is a Mossad registered agent. So if that person came out of Israel and is occupying the highest office in the land in Mexico, that means that the Mossad secret agency has taken over Mexico. That's what they telling you, right? It ain't even no secret.
So
But
we're not going to make this up. Go ahead.
Yeah, but they're not going to talk about it on the news.
Right.
Right. But the world court already came out and gave their findings. They had one of the judges was assigned to tell us. He came out and told us, and we seen it. We just started, oh, that's a nice little thing you just said, and kept going on about our business. Everything
Please.
that we be, everything that we be telling people, the people that's really telling them what's going on, they not being listened to. But the ones that's giving them misdirection and running David Copperfield tricks on them the ones they focus on.
Mm.
And the ones that they can gossip about. Now, that's the biggest thing because we love gossip so much that anything that they can throw out there it's like throwing a bone for a dog to chase while you break into the house. You know, we chase the gossip to our own detriment.
Mm.
Look, the people that need to be worried about their own self liberation know more about Puffy Case than they know about the movement of the Federal Reserve.
That's so true.
They can tell you inside and out the whole of the Puffy Case, but they can't tell you that the tribe's been systematically doing step by step reclaiming of the land for the last 10 years and show you each step of the way where it was being done.
Mm-hmm.
And it was being done in everybody's face. They said we had a right to use our system, the oral tradition, to take everything back. So I've been using the oral tradition to systematically take everything back. And they've been giving Empress Redbird all the receipts. The foundational documents in which the fraud is built on in order to use the fruit of the poison tree doctrine, all of the ones that follow are also null and void. So they gave her the paperwork, right? Sending good vibes to Empress Redbird, by the way. She in seclusion right now. So but she watch you, she love your show. And yeah, so I told her I was talk to you about getting her on here one day.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. People been telling me about her as well. Yes.
Yeah,
Thank
she's very important to the land because okay, so people know about allodial titles, but what they don't know is the tribes never needed a title. That's European in the origin. So when the Europeans staked the claim over here, the king of England, the king of France, and the king of Spain signed off on allodial contracts, which was allotted by royal families to the lords. The lords become the landlords, the land barons.
Okay.
Then the systematic way to keep you from ever striking out against them is to create a structure, and they give you what's called a property tax system. And they allow you to make it up to pay your own taxes on your own, and that way you don't feel like you being forced to pay for land that can't nobody buy or sell.
Mm.
You can only be appointed a portion of territory according to your capabilities to work the land. If you're not a farmer and you in the city talking about when we gonna get our land back, you're not finna go to no farm and do that hard ass work. Don't even worry about it.
Mm.
Plus, half of us gonna be wealthy, so you know how we gonna do. As soon as we get a job, as soon as we get some money, and we ain't going to work.
There you go. That's true.
We not going to work, especially when we in this victim mentality of post traumatic slave disorder.
Mm.
We actually hold more energy to the slave narrative, never knowing that they turned the story around from prisoners of war to servants of a master. And that's how you create a master race. But the master race ain't the ones that they telling you. They using decoys,
Mm.
deceivers, fall guys, crash dummies, stunt dummies. They supposed to take the fall when we wake up because we supposed to be so groggy that everybody screaming kill Whitey think they talk about paleface. Whitey ain't even paleface. He a Moor, according to Black's Law Dictionary,
Yeah.
right? So if the white man is a Moor, who the black man? A Maru? They look alike, but they ain't the same.
Okay.
George Washington challenged in 200 years, you won't know what side of the water you belong to. I know exactly what side of the water I belong to. I'm Mississippi clay dirt walking, organic to the land, sprang from the land like a tree.
Autogenous. Yes.
Been here from the beginning, gonna be here to the end.
Mhm.
So when all of these things is taking place across the land, we've been taught to follow the what's called mainstream narrative, because everybody knows it's easier to swim with the current than to go against it.
Absolutely.
But how you get to be a stronger swimmer is you swim against the current.
Mm. Mm.
You might struggle at first, but you're gonna get strong enough to swim against the current. That's the same as you standing there knowing the truth, trying to tell everybody that's thinking you crazy what the truth is, and they looking at you like you from somewhere else,
Right. Right.
right? And you just sound like a babbling idiot, but most people don't know that smart people sound crazy to dumb people. And you living in a system that requires them to use Skinner box technology and Pavlovian response systems to systematically dumb you down in education.
Mhm. Let
And
me ask you a
Chinese,
question. Sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
You mentioned us being, what you say, prisoners of war.
Yes.
How did that come about? Please. I don't want to interrupt your thought, though. I can wait till you finish your thought.
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, so remember, they told us in history class that Columbus was looking for an alternative route to India.
Right.
And that's what they told us, right?
So this, yes.
The first problem is India didn't become India until the 1950s.
Mm.
It was Hindustan for hundreds of years before that.
Okay.
So what India is he looking for? So they are operating under what's called the white man's burden. We call it the doctrine of discovery.
Mm-hmm.
They are in exile following the French Revolution and the Spanish Inquisition, in which they exiled the Islamic Moors from Europe. The first place they exiled them to was Northern Africa, right? And they went to put ships together to do expeditions because they needed a homeland because they wasn't native nowhere. It wasn't nowhere for them to go,
Okay.
right? So under the papal doctrine of discovery, the Pope first gave the Spanish conquistadors permission to settle the Americas,
Mm.
right? And this is Christopher Columbus was actually from the Cologne family, which is one of the secret black nobilities of Europe. That's actually melanated, nappy-head people. And they came over here to establish a home front for the so-called lost tribes of Israel in the Bible. But they
Oh,
made it up. It's all made up.
okay.
And is used for the application of military conquest. Okay, so now that the Spanish conquistadors is heading this way, Christopher Columbus is coming from Spain,
Mm-hmm.
being funded by Isabella and Ferdinand. Remember?
Okay. Yes, yes, I remember that.
Okay, now remember what happened when he came back and told them about the Americas and all of that? And not too long after that, they got beheaded. That was part of the rebellion.
Oh.
They was looking for an alternative location to set up shop.
Mm.
The White House is Casablanca. So they used sigil magic in DC and established a White House, a Casablanca, on this land as an embassy. That's why DC is a 10 square mile enclave. It's not a city.
Okay.
It's a city state. It's separate from all of the rest of the stuff on the land. They don't got nothing to do with nobody outside of the 10 square miles of DC. But they tricked us with post office boxes because they used the postal zones are the grids for what's called the Plymouth crash. Remember Malcolm say we didn't land on Plymouth Rock landed on us?
Yes.
If you look up Plymouth Rock, it's to commemorate a crash down in the bay by DC, where the embassy at.
Mm.
Crash site, ground zero.
Wow.
And they came to law the flag. Now they wage a war on us with the Spanish and the English gentry. These are your British nobles that's also being exiled and they still look like us. But they ain't us. They move up into New Jersey and upstate New York and gated communities and they talk about us like we are animals on the farm.
Wow.
The only time they associate with us is when they think we about to figure out who they is. They need to cause a rebellion, and they come and incite us to riots,
Wow.
tribal conflicts between the different tribes, stuff like that. That's their job.
Mm.
It's told about by the FBI is what's called the FBI informant program,
Mm-hmm.
right? And also they had what's called the COINTELPRO infiltration program.
Yeah.
And they wasn't using pale faces to infiltrate our organizations. Most of us believe that the ADL and the JDL is pale face Jews. They just the cover story.
Okay.
The real Jews is what they call Zionist Jews, is Moorish Zionist Jews. Them the ones who fell out with Noble Drew Ali.
Okay.
That's why he had to leave New Jersey.
Mm.
So he set up the Moorish Science Temple and put codes all through the Circle 7, the Oral Statements and Prophecies.
Mm. Mm.
So when we read the material, it don't seem like this doesn't make sense for him to be who he was and this material be this elementary,
Right.
right? And what the ancestors say, 9 out of 10, the simplest answer is the right answer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so Elijah Muhammad said, make it plain enough for a baby to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So then when you look back at his material, and then like, what would he be trying to get children to understand? We don't ask them type of questions when we studying because we too busy trying to be adept in the adept chambers and sound all important with a bunch of dogmatic words that don't mean nothing. But when you see past the charade and you realize how we move versus how they move, and you look back on history, it'll play out like you looking back on a video game, or you hit rewind on a movie.
Mm-hmm.
You can go back, keep rewinding, keep looking at a situation. Hindsight is 2020 for a reason.
Right.
So we look to the past in order to know where we got to go for the future.
Mm.
When I look to the past, I was like, yeah, I don't want to repeat none of this BS that I see.
I know that's right.
So we gonna have to do something different for the future because I don't support none of the shackling the people. I don't support the rape campaign. Babies as human food and sex toys. I ain't with none of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I know where it came from and I know who was behind it. That's why they call us sinners.
Why?
The Babylonian magic was written by a guy named Menachem.
Okay.
The ones who practice those ritual rites are called sinners.
Wow.
And every time they got these people doing communion, they participating in the rites of sin.
Mm-mm. 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 So once we became prisoners of war by what some people in the chat are calling dirty Moors,
They was the
um,
first ones come over here, and they used the sweetheart swindle in the Jones plantation philosophy to trick us into thinking that somebody else was running the farm. So they married Big Mama and poisoned her. That's how they was able to enter into agreements because they inherited the land from their wife. We don't believe in selling land. This is how they always tell on themselves.
Mm.
Anybody that was selling land and he was over a large plot of land, he was one of them. He married the Big Mama. That's why they called it the Big House. They took her name off of it. It wasn't a plantation. Every clan had family farms.
Whoa, I
And
got
they
chills.
come in, yeah, and they come in. Um, Big Mamas was a lot of times single by 30 because they was married to some old geezer, 90, 80 years old,
Right.
right? And she might have 6, 8, 10 babies.
Mm-hmm.
They knew this. It could exploit the loneliness of the woman. It's the sweetheart swindle. It's the classic Valentine Day seduction.
Mm.
And once he get her to marry him, now he got the right to utilize the land however he see fit once he get rid of her when he poison her.
Mm.
Look, if they was poisoning the men chiefs uh with infected women and syphilis infected women and smallpox blankets, what make you think they wouldn't try to take over from the mothers? They can't get the land from the men because we already know that the land is the responsibility of the women. They don't the owners of the land.
I was just talking about that the other day, how under the matriarchal systems, the property passed down through the mother, and how that makes sense because she's going to take care of all her children. Doesn't matter who the father is. But
Yep.
when, when according to Marion Stone, who's an author, she said you can correct me though if I'm wrong. She said when the Aryans came out of the Caucasus Mountains, they decimated and this is a Caucasian woman, European woman.
Mm-hmm.
They decimated all the female gods, and they started marrying the women in order to own the land of the woman and control the womb of the woman and her land. And then it makes sense then for the man to say, well, this is now my property, and the only children I'm going to take care of are the ones that come from my
Man,
law, right? So, but that's not how it used to be.
no,
Okay.
no. So the lands was allotted in portions of land, and most of the chiefs had a governable size clan, but he still had a clan mother.
Okay.
Every chief had a clan mother that even if she put him out front to run stuff,
Mm-hmm.
he got to run it by her to make sure that he not doing something that is belligerent to the children or the planet.
Okay. Right.
So the women is the council.
Mm-hmm.
They the ones who say, excuse me, is it beneficial or harmful to the children? But we can't do that if it's gonna hurt the babies.
Okay.
That makes sense because if it's gonna hurt the babies, it's gonna hurt the future,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So how is it gonna affect the earth? That's how they got to do all that mining under patriarchy.
Mm.
The strip mining was not allowed under the matriarchy. You had to do tunnel mining.
Okay.
And the tunnel mining was to make sure that you wasn't over extending the land's resource.
Okay.
And you're supposed to fill the tunnels back in, but people started living in them.
Mm.
And then they started using them for underground commerce because they found that the mine tunnels can go to another mine tunnel to another mine tunnel. Sometimes all you got to do is move 6 feet of wall and you're in a whole different mine network.
Wow.
And that was where you get your concept of underground railroad. It was train tracks under the ground, mining tracks.
Okay.
And most of the stories of the Underground Railroad is fabricated.
Mm.
They fabricated it in order to attach it to the slave narrative to give us some rebellious heroes that they can control our worship of.
Wow.
They celebrate the ones that they want us to acknowledge, and they bury the ones that they want us to forget.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we have History Month, History Month, Black History Month, don't nobody bring up Lucy Parsons,
Never heard of her.
most feared, the FBI's most feared black woman. She just so
Mm.
happened to be a Native American.
Okay.
They feared her because she had the genetic right to serve them eviction. She just didn't have a chief advisor that knew the old culture that could tell her what to, this is what you're missing. That's the same thing that happened with Empress Verdiasi.
Mm-hmm.
She was successful in their system. She won in their system, but they don't never honor nothing when we win in their system.
Right. She won about $85 quadrillion.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. That was the accumulated value of all of the resources on the land and in the land.
Okay.
In the geography, remember they granted her 68,888 acres.
Mm.
Right? So all of that land, the resources in that land that they had stripped it of, they have to give it back to her. But they don't got it. They squandered the wealth. But the Pope was the one holding all of the resource.
Mm.
That's why Donald Trump had the first, he went and got the certificate from the White Dragon Society over in the Philippines some damn where. Then he came back and then he had to show it to the military because now under military control from the commander in chief, it's executionable as an act of war for them to resist giving us back our gold when we had a title to it.
Mm.
So the military, it moved in on the Vatican. Look, when they was raiding the Vatican, they was giving subtle reports about activities at the Vatican, but they would never say exactly what it was.
Wow. Okay.
Right? They took a whole bunch of bishops, like 80 bishops, they arrested out the gate. They mentioned it, but then they stopped. They didn't carry it on no more than a little article in the back page of the newspaper. That's big news.
Yeah, it is.
That should have been the headline across all major news networks, unless somebody that was trying to keep it a secret can control the news to that degree.
Mm.
Right? And that was part of the CIA infiltration of the media. They got movies from the 50s about that. So what make you think they wouldn't be doing it now? And JFK told us they was using the media to control and take
Mm.
over. So if he didn't know what he was talking about, he must have been a prophet.
No wonder they wanted to get rid of him.
Yeah, he was doing a lot of stuff. Remember, he also, the mafia was mad at him because his daddy made all them deals to get the mafia to use they underground connections to promote him as the next president.
Mm.
And they was instrumental in him getting in office. And the first thing he did when they went to ask for their favors is sick Robert on them. Get him, Bobby. And Bobby, he one of them brothers that when his brothers say get him, ain't no backing down, ain't no retreat. You should have never pissed my brother off. Because if you piss my brother off, that means you got a problem that both of us got to handle.
Right.
That's why he was going at the mob like that.
Okay.
But he was also going at, the CIA got mob ties. And that mob ties was through George Herbert Walker Bush. It all traced back to the old man.
Mm.
Whether we go 9/11 route, trace back to World Trade Center and the controlling, he's a dirty player.
Mm.
That's why he was the first one Trump got rid of.
Mm.
And the second one was John McCain.
Okay.
Right? The two biggest traitors operating on the land. You gotta remember, John McCain was the one gave up the position to the enemy, and they gave him a pardon for it.
Mm.
They were supposed to give him a bullet in the face. according to military law. He was a traitor.
Mm-hmm.
Gave up the military positions to the enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you supposed to die for that.
Mm.
What they do? Slap the badge on, honor on him, put his strong arm in a little sling, and sent him to D.C. Ain't nobody in D.C. like him. But they
Mm.
scared to say something to him because his marionette master, his Geppetto, that old
Mm.
man Bush, Geppetto,
Mm.
he put Obama in office.
Mm.
He created the Clinton, all them assets. Those was George Herbert Walker Bush assets,
I see. Mm.
right? Like if you go to Behold a Pale Horse, he tell you about the Senate Select Committee that made him King George the First of the United States of America.
Mm.
So me, when I was locked up, I went and pulled the bill in the law library, and it said what
Okay.
he said. So I know he wasn't lying because it's in the bill,
Mm.
right? So once you read it, you can't be like, okay, well, I know this information, but what do I do with it? Right? You watch it play out and it expose itself.
Mm.
Now we just shining the light back down the dark corridors of the past so we can show you where it was all at.
Right. You mentioned Behold the Pale Horse, and that just reminds me of what I saw. And I think you were trying to help me see that,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I need a little more clarity when we saw Beyonce riding in on the white horse during the halftime of the games on Christmas. What was that symbolic of something?
Yeah. So the biblical reference for the pale horse is not the biblical reference for the white horse.
Okay. Okay.
The pale horse is gray in color.
Mm, I see.
When you go back to the original, the Greek word for it, it's kind of telling you that it's a grayish color,
Mm,
a pale gray.
okay.
The white horse, they say the one who sat on the white horse is called faithful and true.
Right.
In another place, it said, and the one that sat up on the white horse was given the keys to war and went about conquering and to conquer.
Mm,
Right, so they're not the same.
okay.
The one who sat up on the pale horse carries death.
Right.
Right, so death means absolute change. It don't always mean somebody got to die.
Okay.
It just means that the change is definite. It's a for sure change. It's just like
Okay.
reading the tarot card. Tarot really be trying to explain to people the devil card don't mean the devil. It mean in the physical world. But when
Wow.
you talk in the spiritual world, they give you the lovers instead.
Mm,
When you look at the cards, they mirror images of each other. One is above and one is below. Right? It's the same thing with the death card. Right? They tell you get the death card, people think somebody about to die. It don't mean death in the literal sense.
let's see.
Right? It's oracle reading. Death means an absolute change. Something that was once vigorous in this form is no longer in that form. It don't exist no more. It's dead. When the caterpillar comes out of the cocoon, as the butterfly, the caterpillar itself is dead.
Right.
But when you look in the cocoon, you can't find the caterpillar. You just see you just seen the butterfly come out. So now you're
Sure.
trying to figure out what happened to the caterpillar because he ain't there no more.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Metamorphosis.
So
So
help me
absolute
understand.
change.
Okay. So help me understand. Can you make it clear for me what the symbolism of Beyonce it was riding on a white horse? Because I know they do things through codes.
Yeah. So in Mexico, it's called Jefe Blanco, the white
Okay.
boss.
Okay.
And